Summary so far. So the basic shaila were, what does it mean that a Jew is a partner with the Eibishter? Number one. Number two, the Lashon HaGemara is on the individual. That's whoever says on that Friday night, Vay'chulu, becomes a partner with the Eibishter. But the fact is, all Yidden is saying it. So the Ma'amar Chazal should be that in the plural, all who say become partners. And moreover, we're partners with each other. Because there are others also in this. So to understand this, he's speaking about the bligvolness, the infiniteness of Torah and mitzvahs. And it's all very relative. Relative, first of all, to creation. Creation is clearly finite, at least manifestedly. So the pasuk says, "L'chal tichla ra'isi kates," to all beginning, I see or I understand there's an end. But rechava, this is a pasuk in Tilim, rechava mitzvahs chama'id, your mitzvahs are very broad, truly boundless. So it's explaining the relative bligvuls here. So first he contrasted mitzvahs and Torah, even though mitzvahs are bligvul, but and first of all, he pointed out that it's not a. First, he says that the bligvulness of the grasp is subtle point. The infiniteness, the bligvulness of Torah and mitzvahs, without going into differentiation there, is not bligvul relative to gvul, relative to the limitations of realities. We know it, it's beyond that. No. Bligvul amiti. So we suggested that is similar to like the infinite property of numbers. That's a relative bligvul. It's a relatively just means the numbers continue. But each one is made up of a finite part, and you just never get to the bligvulness of it because you can't have the bligvulness of numbers because it doesn't end. But there's bligvul amiti, which paradoxically one can connect. It's a paradox. That which is infinite, not because it stretches on forever, which is a finite thing going on and on and on. In theory, time or space. It's also in theory because, I don't know, again, Einstein is beyond my pay grade, but there's in science these theories about the limitlessness, the limits of time and space. It doesn't just stretch in a linear progression endlessly. Whatever. It's coming back on time, whatever it is. Never really studied it, but I know that's part of Einstein's great discoveries or theories. Akoponim, that is and that certainly would point to a finiteness, a finitude, if it somehow loops back, whatever that means. But no, Torah mitzvahs are essentially bligvul, they're likus, finished. Now within that, not relative bligvul, but true bligvul, listen up, don't read it, it's not going to get anything from reading. Within that, he differentiates between mitzvahs and Torah, and then differentiates further in Torah itself between nigel and pnimius. That's the overview till now. Mitzvahs obviously are tethered to gvul in a very obvious way. Mitzvahs have their limitations and boundaries. He used the example of tefillin. All mitzvahs are compared to tefillin, are very precise. Whereas Torah, relative to that, bligvul. But then in Torah itself, we find there is this pasuk that the Torah is aruch me'eretz midah or rechava miniyom. So the world itself has as we went into the details like more in Chulin, a limitation, and the Torah is greater, but that implies just a relative bligvul. So it's all operative word here is relative. So this aspect of Torah, which is greater than the seeing, greater than the world, that's nigla. Bit of a contradiction, because he started off saying at the outset, mitzvah saying bligvol amiti, not just like gabak bolas oilo. But now, as we go into detail in Torah, he identifies in Torah the higher level, a level which is relatively bligvol. It's rechavim miniyom. It's broader than the sea. I don't know the answer to that. It's a contradiction. Okay, it's relative, whatever. I need tzarech iyon, but can I see my question?
Yeah.
Beginning of the eye says,
Even in believable amiti, maybe there's relativity.
I'm saying that the operative word is relativity. But not so clear because he's comparing Torah to the world. Broader than.
To the world, it's believable amiti. Relative to the world, it's believable amiti. Relative to previous attacks.
But you wouldn't say rechava, you wouldn't say broader than. Broader than.
Right.
Broader than means it's just broader than this. It's broader. Okay, we'll have to look into that. At any rate, so within Torah itself, the true bligvul is pnimius HaTorah. And that's expressed not by the pasuk Aruchem Eretz Midah, but l'chotichle ra'isi ketz, the one he began with, Rechav mitzvascha me'oid. That is expresses the true bligvulness of Torah. Where is it manifest? So here's the answer. I got the answer. This true bligvulness is in every aspect of Torah and mitzvahs. Where is it transparent? It's in pnimius HaTorah, because the other levels externally have their boundaries. Mitzvahs certainly boundaries, and nigla has its boundaries. But the pnimius, all of it is the true bligvul amiti. Where is that revealed in pnimius HaTorah? And that's why he goes on to say that the chiddush is that in the Hakabbalah of the world, we draw the bligvulness of Torah and mitzvahs. That's the whole point. The whole kavanah is not to blow away the world and dissolve it out of existence and reveal the infinite of the divine, but it suffuses and fuses with gvul, which is not logically possible, but only God can do anything because he's the source of everything, so it's all him. So there can be this fusion. At any rate, but he says the same thing is in Torah. You come l'mayla with your nigla, and in the nigla will be dafke. In the nigla will be revealed the pnimius. So that's consistent with what we just said before. The be'etzem, it's in nigla, but where is it revealed? Transparent in pnimius, and the pnimius will be revealed, destined to be revealed. L'mayla lasid lavai. Well, in the nigla, the fusion of bligvul and gvul. We're following all of this. Okay. Rabbi is Gimel. Yes. Is Gimel.
What did we mention about Talmud?
Sorry?
Biyadei?
What?
Also mentioned something Talmud Biyadei.
Asher Misha Bola Kava Talmud Biyadei. Every fortune is the one that comes here, Leilam Haba, and this with this learning. Simple meaning is didn't forget it. Comes with this learning. Yeah. But the diak is that the Gilia Pnimius HaTorah, which is Lamaila, happens in the nigla that he learned, not something else. It's in this Gemara and Halacha that he learned. He starts to experience the bligvul of it. That's the fusion, which is again is what this is consistent. Or this supports what we're saying, that beginning of the Maimah spoke in general terms. It's all bligvul amiti, not relative bligvul, but where is it transparent? It's more seen in pnimius HaTorah. Simply because pnimius HaTorah deals with bligvul, with the Eibishter. Just to add, pnimius HaTorah is also words. Structure, Maimah, Kasha, Telet. It's a whole Torah, and it has an end too. It has an end after the last Maimah of the Rebbe. That's it. There's no more Gili Pnimius HaTorah. I mean, there's no more Maimorim. Mamash a physical end.
You relearn the Maimah. You relearn the Maimah again and again. You realize.
Yeah, that's true. But there's a nigla as well. I mean, ever new discoveries. Chidushim and Nigla. But it's just to add this, where do you see this? I'm not saying this is the only expression of it, but you see in the Gilia Pnimis HaTorah, you see the likus, the bligvulness of it. The way Rebbe says a Maimer, it's not a Sicha, not Rosh Hashiva giving a pilpul or a halacha. You see, Benaim Gashmi, it's a likus. Much Gashmi, you see that this is.
So the outcome
Huh?
of Chassidus is believable.
Is bligvul ingvul. Bligvul ingvul. That the whole kavana is the infinite fusing and suffusing and uniting with the finite. That means that every moment means that every chassidus reveals and makes us appreciate that every moment is everything. Should be, can be. It is. And well, if it isn't now, you'll do tshuva and you'll redeem it. But every moment, every nakuda of your life is everything to God. And every moment is everything. Every moment is everything. You wake up in the morning, you see me, then you're like a Jew. That's Ne'ilah. Shema Yisrael of Ne'ilah. No less. You go to the bathroom, you conduct yourself in the toilet the way a Jew is supposed to. That's everything. That's mamish everything. And every detail. Again, Vata Tetzaveh. That's the Maimah Vata Tetzaveh. I think I mentioned the story of the Maimah, the Shchedesh Kislev. Yutes Kislev. Just bringing out how we see it Likus. I was witness to this, friends. This was Yutes Kislev was the first Fabrengen that came down. He went home to Chodesh Kislev. He was seen for the first time after the heart attacks, two. But the first, and since then the Fabrengens are all Motzei Shabbos in his office. The first Fabrengen with the Olam that he was seen was Yutes Kislev. Then the Fabrengens continued from his office for a while. I'm sorry, they continued thereafter Motzei Shabbos downstairs with the microphone and finally reverted back, I don't remember exactly when, to regular, more or less. At any rate, this was the first Fabrengen, meaning to say Shabbos and Yom Tov Fabrengens. They were all Motzei Shabbos, which was wonderful for Chassidim. We heard it all over the world. Much easier on the Rebbe microphone. They didn't want to continue it. They wanted to go back to the Shabbos and Yom Tov. So that first Fabrengen, so the Rebbe's heart was hooked up to a monitor, and sitting below him, was Dr. Weiss, and I think Dr. Tisha, certainly Dr. Weiss. And there, you could see, remember, he's like watching them and watching the Rebbe. They see that there was a first sikha and a second sikha, and they're very nervous. They're very nervous, and I think Dr. Weiss went over to the Rebbe, like, in retrospect, it turns out he was saying that maybe we should end the Fabrengen now. It's way too taxing. The heart was irregular and clearly taxed, and that we're continuing. And again, he's not going to start. He knew he don't start happen. Then came the Maimer. The third was the Maimer. Now the Maimer, Begashmis, the Rebbe exerts much more than a sich. You just watch the face of his face. It's red, and the whole body's moving. The hands under the table. You see the tablecloth lifting, and so Begashmi is tremendous avodah, and we see that they're happy. The doctors are happy. All is good. So Dr. Weiss later explained. I heard it from Dr. Weiss later. He said that the Maimer, the Rebbe's heart became absolutely calm and normal. The Maimer. Even the Begashmis, it was more than.
That's believable.
Yeah, so that's what we see, but the Chassidim see, we're just watching the Maimer, the whole Anhoga. You see the course? I mean, it's not just a Maimer, and everything that Rebbe's whole demeanor. You see, this is godliness. The pshitus of it, the simplicity of it, but especially in a Maimer. And this story illustrates that Mamish, the heart is monitored and it's calm, not reflective of what they're seeing. Megashmi is certainly in contrast to the first two sikhs. So anyway, the doctors
You
are
were
happy.
there?
Huh?
You were there?
Yeah. I was learning in Miami and we came back. We came in for Yitzchak. So we had to rent a van. I didn't have a license, but I was 21. I was 21, so incredibly, they just give you an issue a permit, 21 without anything. With this, the guys went to the rental company, rented a van
Because you were 21.
because I had a permit, no license anyway. But I knew how to drive like I thought I did as a kid. So the Poyo, I drove a little bit and I was going off the exit. I'm going the same speed as the guys are howling in the back. That was the end. It was the first 5 minutes, which was fine. Because after that, it took 24 hours to get there more or less. It was a Fabrang the whole way. That's it. Guys want to drive in the front. It was like a whole van of us. I think we turned the chair around, Bad Lamashka. And it became the night before Yitzchak, before the Fabrengen. Became straight to Torah then, because we knew it was going to be a Fabrengen. Everybody knew. I never saw such a scene in my entire life. What was going on in Torah the night before Yitzchak? Anyway, and the next night was the Fabrengen. So we were there.
What was going on?
It's indescribable.
Who was Fabrang?
Huh? It wasn't even Shaykh to Fabrengen. It wasn't not Fabrengen. It wasn't Shaykh to Fabrengen. We came in like, I don't know, early in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. Place was hundreds of Bachrim. But then after that, the elder Bachrim took, Ari Chitrik led the charge, I remember, took hold of the boys, fellas, okay, celebrate. And we know that you sit, learn, and a big studim coming to Seder and learning.
Saying from Shleidish Kislev, there was still on wheels?
What?
Still from Shleidish Kislev, everyone was still like.
From Shchedish Kislev to what?
Till you get this Kislev, it was on.
It was what?
It was on wheels?
No, I think that night, knowing the next day that was going to be a Fabrengen, the night before that was coming down, to be seen to Fabreng. We'll participate. It was the big simcha the night before. And then right away, I'm saying the Elter Bachim, not Anhole, remember, really strong boys, hit those books, Sdorim, Seder, channeling that tremendous energy, simcha, into Eres the Toyo, Beken V'tikon, fusion of Blik V'Lagvul, that's what we're talking about.
My mother said by Shleidish Kislev was the only time she saw the Rebbetzin.
What?
Shleidish Kislev was the only time my mother saw the Rebbetzin.
Oh, how did she see the Rebbetzin? Because she was watching.
Yeah, she was out there. It was the only time in her life.
Shchedish Kislev, we didn't make it. It was a sudden thing. We didn't know. So that was, in Miami, we celebrated there, but in 770, it made a coffee, so it was a big simcha then. Okay, Eis Gimel. Inyan zeh, this Inyan, Achib b'dochol technologisich ketz. The fusion of, on the one hand, the finitude of creation. Im rechava mitzvascham ba'oid, with the true bligvul of Torah mitzvahs. I just went into the detail of where it's revealed, etc. Meaning, shabligvul the Torah mitzvahs nimshach b'akbala solam, that the infinite divinity of that's expressed, conveyed in Torah mitzvahs, be drawn within the boundaries of creation. So this is quite the feat. So I said before, only the Eibishter can do that, but he doesn't want to do it. He wants us to do it. This is through the Avodah of Yidden. That's the point. This is what Avodah is all about. To draw the infinite into the limitations of the world. And as I said earlier, that translates simply as an awareness and a mindfulness, to use a common term, of the absolute infinite value of this moment. If I'm engaged in that moment in a Torah mitzvah's way, that moment is everything. There's no means for an end. To get this over and done with, next thing. Even in business, if he's in business with the awareness that it's Eibush is the provider and the whole kavanah is to be megala likus, then that moment is everything. I mean, this is the key. This is the key, the secret to serenity, to being whole. You're not torn apart with a million obligations and running from one thing to the next. Esav said this week's parsha, Yesh li rav, I got lots of things, and they're all competing and tearing me apart. And Yaakov said, Yesh li koil. Same thing externally, but very different. I have everything. It's all together. I'm an Eved Hashem. I have lots of responsibilities, but it's one likud. It's likus in this moment. A husband, a father, a teacher in business, a commuter, the bedroom, the bathroom, the shower. Yesh li koil. Every moment is a yid. Every moment is the way. What are you laughing? There's a way a Jew showers. Halacha. The way a Jew engages himself in the bathroom, gets dressed. Every moment. Yesh li koil. It's one likud. Got my life together. It's all together. And Esav is Toyu. Here he's a murderer, and here's an adulterer, and here's it's very taxing, training, all of these things he does. Here he's tender, passionate, loving, and he is a hargit. And everything else that he did. It was also, a father, it's all tearing him apart. Yesh li rav, I got a lot of things, don't give me more. Or actually say, yes, they have a lot of things, but I want more. Simple pshat. Yaakov says, I have everything, I don't need anymore. But the pneumius is what we're saying. Weiter. So what are we saying? That who fuses gvul and bligvul, this is the avodah of every yid. And this is what's conveyed in the otherwise very strange Maimar Chazal. The Gemara says in Ksubas, G'dolim ma'aseh tzadikim mi'ma'aseh shamayim va'aretz. Greater are the deeds of the tzadikim, it's every yid, than God, creator of heaven and earth. And the Gemara says because creation of heaven and earth is described by Hashem using one hand. The one hand, the pasuk there, that it's not a Shemayim, the pasuk is one hand. But the Beis HaMikdash that's built by Eden, it's Konyanu Yodecha, two hands. We built it, but Hashem says two hands. So we see that what Yid does, this is the Gemara, is greater than what the Eibishter makes. What's the pshat? This explains this week's parsha. Sorry, B'Shalach, not Vayishlach. What does the Eibishter do in creating heaven and earth? Something from nothing. Okay, it's extraordinary. Hashem creates a finite world. But what does a tzaddik, what does a yid do? The world remains finite, but it's nullified to ayin, to bligvul. Ayin means no thing, bligvul. That's a bigger feat. Fusion. The Eibishter creates finite. Okay, God miraculously creates finite. But now that finite is here, it's at odds with bligvul. No, notwithstanding that it's at odds, a yid is mamshich in the gvul bligvul. Ayin. That's a bigger feat than creation itself. This is the Dikalosh here in the Maimar Chazal is greater is the deeds of the tzaddikim of Yidden over the Maisa of creating heaven and earth. What's the dig of the word Godel? Gedolim stam. It's unqualified. When you say the word big unqualified, it means the true infinite. Shezau godless amitish ein lashir, the true boundlessness that is completely without measure. Haino, which means to say, spelling it out, it's not that what you didn't do is so many times more greater, more significant than the act of creation. No, it's not so many times more. It's incomparable to creation, is what we do by bringing into creation the bligvul. Elikus. Because creation is, God creates a finite entity. And tzaddikim bring into this finite entity the true bligvol, the Eibishter himself, which God, by creating, had to necessarily hide. He had to, because if he didn't, he wouldn't have produced the finite creation. So God eclipses himself, the tzimtzum, and the Yid, despite the tzimtzum, is megalehim, and creation remains. So he, quotations, couldn't do that, because if he had revealed himself while creating, the creation would be dissolved. It wouldn't be Bagbola. So God had to, that's the natural process, eclipse himself, tzimtzum, and create a finite creation. And that's now the reality. And what does a Yid do? No, you can't. We will. Okay, because he's rooted in Atzmus. Because that's what you want. A Yid can be Megala and revealed in the finite creation, the bligvol, which in the natural process cannot happen. In the process, is that clear? Huh? Question? Okay. Let's finish. Again, creation itself produces that which is finite, and again, how? By eclipsing the infinite. That's the great tzimtzum. But the tzaddik brings into creation bligvol. The greatness of infinite true bligvol, finite Jude, is incomparable. It's not bigger than, it's incomparable to. As he says, he's quoting here from Tanya. This is very basic in book of Tanya, like he explains in Tanya Perek Memches. Shlagabi Dovashu Bilti Bebchinas Bligvul or Mispaklal, even in numbers, something which has no number at all. It's just beyond numbers. It has no number. This is Migvul Amiti. Ain't connected Shum Erech B'misparim. Nothing, no number has any value next to it. Shafil elef alafim v'ribi revavis, thousands upon thousands, or 10,000s, or upon 10,000s, any number, billions, trillions. Einan afilu ke'erech mispar echad. The distance between the greatest number and bligvol is greater incomparably than the difference between one and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands. Clear? Because there's still, it's a number, it's a bigger number. But relative to true bligvol, zero significance. Clear? Yeah? Okay. So Be'ez Hashem, we'll continue this on Monday.